Sony's approach to child accounts on the PlayStation is woeful and nowhere near fit for purpose. Let me explain what I mean. Jason, who's a regular contributor to the channel and is now somebody I consider a friend, bought a peripheral for the PlayStation and it came with a skin for Fortnite. He sent me the code for the skin because, well, he didn't need it and he knows that my kid is a big fan of Fortnite. It was a really cool thing to do and I was looking forward to giving the skin to my kid. Unfortunately, I ran into problems. And it seems that I'm not the only one who's run into problems with child accounts on the PlayStation. You see, I'd set up a child account for my lad on the PlayStation 4 thinking it would work in the same way as the Xbox and even the Switch. The Switch. How wrong I was. I was about to go down the rabbit hole into the strange world of Sony's parental controls. Now, you might be wondering at this stage why I hadn't encountered any issues previously, and the reason for that is simple. My kid prefers the Xbox to the PlayStation, and so he plays almost exclusively on Microsoft's platform. And he even shrugged his shoulders when I offered to give him a spare PlayStation. Yeah, he didn't want it. I think he needs a talking to. But anyway, to the point. I'd set up a child account for my kid, but it had never really been used. So the first thing I did when I got this skin was to log on to the PlayStation 4 and then change over to my kid's account and start Fortnite. What I was hoping to do was log into the PS4, add the skin, and then hope that the skin would work across all platforms, because if my kid could use it on the Xbox, then he'd be very happy. If not, he'd have to play on the PlayStation and, well, he might do, I don't know. But anyway, let's get on with it. This didn't go well. And that's an understatement. And you should be seeing some footage now as to what happened. But anyway, I thought, well, no problem. All I need to do is just relax some of the settings within family management. And that went even worse. I spent a couple of hours messing around with settings until eventually I'd opened up pretty much everything I could find. And still no joy. Whatever I did, I simply couldn't get Fortnite or any other online game to run. So then I resorted to looking online to find that PlayStation doesn't allow online interaction for children under 14 years of age. Yep, you heard me right. According to everything I was reading, if you're under 14 and you've got a child account, don't expect to be playing online in 2020. Yeah, seriously. There's me sitting here thinking, are you kidding me? That's insane. I honestly couldn't believe it. But, you know, as far as I could see, that's what it was like. If you were under 14 and you had a child account and you wanted to play online, not going to happen. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I understand the need for child protection, but this isn't so much as taking a sledgehammer to crack a nut as hiring a wrecking ball for the purpose. Seriously, what's the point of having parental controls if you aren't going to give the parents any control? Because that's what's happening here. The parents are kind of out of the loop because if you're under 14 years of age, it's just not going to work. Xbox managed to allow a certain amount of leeway for parents. Even Nintendo, who are well known for being child-friendly, are more flexible. My kid can play Fortnite on both the Switch and the Xbox, and he can even play the bloody game on PC using his Epic Games account. So it works on every other platform apart from the PlayStation. Hell, I could probably go over and download Fortnite to my Nvidia Shield right now and get him set up and running within about 5 minutes. That's how easy it is to get running. But not on the PlayStation. The truth is, I still couldn't believe it. I thought there must be some way around this, so I started asking around. Did any of my friends have child accounts for their kids? Well, the unanimous answer was a deafening no. Nobody was using child accounts. They were either allowing their kids to use their own accounts, their adult accounts, or they'd given up trying to create a working child account and just created adult accounts for their kids. Simply put, child accounts on the PlayStation were useless and far from protecting kids. They were creating a situation where parents were forced not to use them. In fact, it felt to me like Sony might be creating a situation where they could absolve themselves of all responsibility by making their child protection measures so unworkable that nobody in their right mind would go near them. Surely not, though. Surely we were all missing something. So I decided to try and contact Sony directly. I reached out to them on Twitter to ask them what was going on and if there was something I could do. Well, it seems not. The initial conversation I had started on Twitter but quickly moved over to personal messages. And this is what Sony told me, and I'll give you my responses as I went along as well. We'd got into it a little way at this point, but this is what they say. Hello. We don't control the age requirements set out by publishers for their games. We cannot comment on how you have set things up for other platforms, but if you have already amended the on-console settings for parental controls and can launch Fortnite, but receive a further warning about not meeting age requirements, you must discuss this with the publisher. And my response? This is clearly not a publisher issue as the game runs under PC, Switch and Xbox with exactly the same Epic account. And they replied, and this is a good one, so wait for it. That will be because they are other platforms. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. And may not take age restriction as seriously as ours. Which, if you think about it, contradicts what they said in the previous paragraph where they said, you must discuss this with the publisher. Is it you, Sony, your age restrictions that you take seriously? Or is it a publisher issue? But anyway, let's move on. We cannot verify anything to do with those other platforms either. So yeah, you can't tell me anything about the other platforms. You can't tell me anything to do with the publisher. Nothing to do with you. And they go on. If your account is a child account and it does not meet the required age in terms of service of the publisher for their online services, we cannot provide you online play access, as that is up to the publisher on their own terms. And I respond with, what you have just said, in effect, is that parental controls do nothing. I'm not sure I follow. If you set parental controls on your console for a child account, it will prevent the launching of applications within the restricted age range. What you are speaking of is something else entirely. Okay, my response. It appears that online is restricted no matter what the age is set to. I have no control over that. I understand the reasoning behind this, but the problem is that some parents will just give up on the idea of a child account and create a second adult account. That would be a huge mistake, but is understandable if child accounts do not allow the parent to actually take control. At this point, I thought they might start to understand what I was getting at. But no. You can't freely edit the age of an account, as we require you to put the date of birth of the user. Yeah, I already knew that. If they don't meet the publisher's age requirements in their terms of service, nothing can be done on our end to help you. Usually age limits will be set due to the data collection requirements or relevant child protection laws in the country of operation or where the company is based. If you are wanting more information on these, you'll have to speak to the publisher or consult their terms of service. Yeah, patronising much, mate. As I say, this contradicts what they said earlier about other platforms not taking age restrictions seriously. Is it the publisher? Or is it Sony's own system settings? Because they're not being very clear at all here. In fact, this is as clear as mud. And this is what I respond with. As someone who uses multiple devices, I can tell you that this is a particular issue for the PlayStation 4. Accounts under a certain age simply can't play online in most instances. Again, I understand the reasoning, but it will ultimately defeat the object as parents will not set up child accounts if they are locked down to the point of being virtually unusable. Is there no way around this at all on the PlayStation 4? Surely I should be able to override certain restrictions on a game-by-game basis. To illustrate the point I'm trying to make, my kid plays in squads with his school friends. Those on PlayStation 4 are playing on their parents' unrestricted accounts, which means they could buy season passes, skins, etc. When my lad plays on Xbox, he uses his account and I have all monetization locked down. He literally cannot buy anything without my permission, but he can play the game. This is not just the case for Fortnite, it applies to other online games too. I have now gone through several games and none of them will allow my boy to play online. Even if I change all settings within parental controls to allowed, no game that I have tried will allow online play. This is most definitely a PS4 issue and seems to be the result of a deliberate policy to restrict child accounts and prevent them from going online. Could you let me know if this is the case, as I do not wish to waste time chasing answers if it is simply not a problem that can be solved? And they respond, and this is their last response. When it comes to age restrictions, the ability to play online is determined by two factors: the parental controls imposed on the child account and the restrictions imposed by a third party's game's servers. You have full control over parental controls and restrictions. However, the restrictions imposed on the servers of third-party games are something we cannot comment on or influence in any way. Bullshit. This is my response. Sorry, but that's utter nonsense. This restriction is unique to PlayStation. Both Xbox and Switch work fine with child accounts. It is only the PlayStation I am having trouble with. If it was to do with the game's servers, it would be a problem on other platforms. It isn't. My child can play Fortnite, for instance, on Xbox, Switch and PC, but not on PlayStation. And my final comment, as I say, that was their last response, because my final comment was met with stony silence. And the reality is, I'm no more the wiser as to why Sony have implemented this lockdown. Because, as I've said before, it's so draconian as to render it useless. If you have child accounts that children can't use because they can't go online and play their games, what's the point of having it? You know, who doesn't play online games these days? You know, the reality is that the way many games are set up, online is required, whether you're playing online with other people or not. And I hate to say it here, but I'm reminded of when Dom Matrix suggested that if you want to play offline, you should buy an Xbox 360. Well, as far as Sony seem to be concerned, if you want to play online and you're under the age of 14, you should buy any console but the PlayStation. That seems to be what they're saying, because they are in effect making it impossible to play these games on the PlayStation if you're under the age of 14. And how insane is that in 2020? What I find most disturbing here, though, is the seeming ignorance and lack of interest exhibited by Sony as regards this issue at all. I know for a fact that I'm not the only person who's encountered this problem. And Sony must have encountered it on many, many occasions. Why then are they so content to try to pass the buck when it's clearly a policy at their end? And all they seem to be wanting to do here is give me the runaround. It'd be like playing bloody toilet tennis. You know, toilet tennis, see other wall, look at other wall. Toilet tennis, see other wall, look at other wall. And so it goes. Sony seem to want to blame the publishers. They seem to want to blame other systems not having as good parental controls, which, if you think about it, they're not worse because they actually allow kids to play the games, which is what you want, isn't it? You know, what's the point of having a game on the PlayStation if you can't bloody play it? And that's what's going on here. Oh, Jesus, I have had it up to here with dealing with customer service and anything to do with a lot of these large companies. I've had so many dealings with large companies lately and just been given the runaround. It's almost like they've got a little thing written in their notebook. You've got a customer who's asking an awkward question, send them somewhere else. That seems to be the mode of operating these days. But this one, as I say, it's going to be a problem going forward because loads of people out there looking at buying a PlayStation for their kids are going to end up buying a PlayStation and setting it up without child accounts. And that completely defeats the object of having them in the first place. So Sony, get your head out your arse and sort it out and stop trying to pass the bloody buck. All right, I'm going to go and grab a cup of tea. I'll speak to you guys in the next one. Bye.